Welcome to a deep dive into Ikigai. You've heard of it, right? That Japanese concept. Finding your reason to get out of bed each morning. You're into longevity and happiness, right? So we're diving into the book Ikigai by Hector Garcia and Francesc Miralles. Those excerpts you sent over, fascinating stuff. We're going to meet some awesome Okinawan centenarians and unlock the secrets of flow states. Maybe even figure out how to be a little anti-fragile along the way. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Really gets to the heart of what makes life worth living.
So first things first, what is Ikigai exactly?
Well, the word itself combines the Japanese characters for life and to be worthwhile. And even though it's often translated as a reason to jump out of bed, it's so much more than just loving your job. Think of it like finding that perfect spot where your passions and talents meet and line up with what the world needs and what you can get paid for. It's about a deep sense of purpose that kind of permeates your whole life.
And Okinawa, Japan keeps coming up in the book. What's the connection there?
Okinawa is one of the world's blue zones, these special places where people live really long and healthy lives. And Ikigai is like baked into Okinawan culture.
So they're not just living a long time, they're living well too.
Exactly. The book dives into some interesting parts of their lifestyle, like hara hachi-bu.
The 80% secret? Sounds kind of intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a little challenging. For someone who might overindulge from time to time, tell me more.
It's about mindful eating. The Okinawans stop eating when they feel 80% full, not totally stuffed. They're incredibly aware of their bodies.
I'll leave it. I struggle with that sometimes. Any tips on actually doing hara hachi-bu? Because that extra 20% is often so tempting.
It's definitely a process. One tip from the book is to slow down and really savor each bite. Put your fork down between bites, engage all your senses, pay attention to how full you feel. It's about moving from mindless eating to a more mindful experience.
That makes sense. So we have this concept of Ikigai in a culture that values mindful living. But the book also talks about the importance of social connections. How do those fit in?
Social connections are huge. The book talks about moai, these tight-knit social support groups that are central to Okinawan life. They give people a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. They do shared activities together, and they provide a safety net. It's like having a built-in group of friends who are always there for you, encouraging you to live your best life.
That's amazing. And the book actually tells a story about the authors experiencing this firsthand, something about a birthday party.
Yes, they went to a 99-year-old's birthday party in Ogimi, a village nicknamed the Village of Longevity. And the authors describe this vibrant celebration, full of joy and a deep sense of community. It wasn't just a party, it was like a testament to human connection and how it fuels a long and meaningful life.
So staying active and socially connected, check and check. But the book also talks about this idea of flow. Sometimes I get so lost in a good book, I totally lose track of time. Is that kind of what they're talking about?
You're on the right track. Flow is this state of being totally absorbed, where you're completely immersed in an activity. It's a concept explored by the psychologist Miralles. Time just melts away. You're totally present. And there's this effortless joy pushing you forward. The book suggests that activities that lead to a state of flow are often clues to our Ikigai. They tap into our passions and talents in a way that feels intrinsically rewarding.
It's not about escaping reality. It's about finding activities that make you feel truly alive.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about finding that sweet spot between challenge and skill, where you're pushing yourself just enough to be engaged but not overwhelmed. The book actually looks at the lives of takumi, these Japanese master artisans who dedicate their lives to honing their craft.
Takumi, tell me more about them.
They're like the embodiment of flow. They spend years, sometimes even decades, mastering a specific skill, like crafting pottery or weaving textiles, or even making the perfect sushi. The book says they have this incredible focus and dedication to their craft.
I remember reading about this bristle-sorting takumi who could somehow pick out the perfect bristle for each brush. That level of expertise is amazing.
Exactly. And this pursuit of excellence, it's really deep in Japanese culture. It's interesting how they see beauty and meaning, and even the smallest details. In fact, the book even mentions how Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, was super influenced by this Japanese aesthetic of simplicity and precision.
That makes sense. Apple products are known for their sleek design and user-friendliness. But let's be real, most of us aren't master artisans. So how do we find that flow in our everyday lives?
That's a great question. The book talks about this idea of microflow. It's like the idea that even ordinary tasks like washing dishes or folding laundry can become a source of flow if we do them intentionally. They use Bill Gates as an example. He finds microflow in washing dishes every night.
Bill Gates, the tech guy. Washing dishes. Okay, now I'm really curious. Tell me more about this microflow thing.
It's all about being present, finding a rhythm in those daily tasks, focusing on doing them well. The book also mentions Richard Feynman, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist. He found microflow in painting walls at a tech company. It shows that flow isn't limited to big artistic endeavors.
So it's about finding little moments of joy in everyday things. I like that. So how do we actually get into this flow state? Any practical tips from the book?
Meditation's a powerful tool. It calms the mind and trains our attention, so we can enter a flow state easier. The book also talks about ritual, how they can create an environment for flow. Having a routine for certain tasks can help get rid of distractions and bring more focus to the present moment.
Like setting the stage for flow to happen, but finding your Ikigai, finding your purpose. It's not always easy, right? Life throws us curveballs. How does the book deal with those challenges?
You're right. That's where resilience comes in. The book connects it to this Japanese proverb, nanakorobi ya oki. It means fall 7 times, rise 8. It's about having the strength to get back up after setbacks and keep going, even when things are tough.
Sounds like the right mindset to deal with life's ups and downs, especially when you're pursuing a long-term goal.
Exactly. The book talks about this Stoic practice. It might sound weird at first. It's called negative visualization.
Negative visualization. That sounds intense. Why would that be helpful?
It's not about focusing on the negative. It's about mentally preparing yourself for possible challenges. By imagining worst-case scenarios, we can come up with strategies for dealing with them and build up mental toughness, like giving your mind a workout before the big game.
So like you're mentally preparing for the worst. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And the book draws some cool connections between Stoicism and Buddhism in terms of building resilience.
Oh, really? Tell me more about those. I was always fascinated by how.
Different philosophies could have similar ideas. So both Stoicism and Buddhism emphasize controlling what you can and accepting what you can't. The Stoics believed in focusing on your actions and your reactions, recognizing that a lot of stuff outside of you is out of your control. It's about picking your battles. And Buddhism, especially mindfulness and meditation, offers ways to manage negative emotions. It's about observing those feelings without judging them, letting them pass through you without getting swept away.
That makes a lot of sense. It reminds me of how the book talks about living in the present moment.
Exactly. Focusing on the now is a big thing in both Stoicism and Buddhism. It helps us worry less about the past or the future and lets us face challenges with more clarity and resilience.
So we've talked about mental resilience, but the book also talks about embracing imperfection. I'm curious to hear more about that.
Yes. This is where the Japanese concepts of wabi-sabi and ichigo-ichi come in. Wabi-sabi is about finding beauty in imperfection and impermanence, appreciating the little flaws that make something unique, like a chipped teacup you love or the worn word of an old table. It's the Japanese art of finding beauty in things that aren't perfect.
Like that Leonard Cohen lyric, there is a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in.
Exactly. And ichigo-ichi reminds us to appreciate each moment as unique and that it won't happen again. It encourages us to be fully present, to savor the beauty of each experience, knowing that it'll never be exactly the same again.
So instead of chasing this perfect ideal, we should appreciate the beauty of imperfection and how life is always changing. It's a beautiful way to look at the world.
It is, and that's where true resilience is, accepting that things are constantly in flux and finding joy in the journey itself, not just the destination. The book takes this idea even further by talking about anti-fragility.
Anti-fragility. Okay, that's a new one. What does that even mean?
Anti-fragility. It's a term from Nassim Nicholas Taleb. It means not just surviving shocks and stress, but actually getting stronger because of them. It's about benefiting from challenges, using setbacks as opportunities to grow, like resilience on steroids.
So turning those lemons into lemonade, and maybe even a gourmet lemon tart. But how do you actually become anti-fragile? Sounds pretty powerful.
The book gives 3 main steps. First, diversify your life. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Create different sources of income, have lots of relationships, explore different interests, have multiple passions. It's about spreading the risk. So if one thing fails, you have other things to fall back on.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
What's the second step?
Take calculated risks. Don't be reckless. But don't be scared to get out of your comfort zone. Experiment. Try new things. And be okay with the possibility of failing. Remember, failure is just a chance to learn, adapt, and come back stronger.
Reframing failure as a path to success. I love that. What about the third step?
The third step is to find and eliminate the things in your life that make you fragile. It could be anything. A toxic relationship, being financially dependent on one thing, or even a limiting belief about yourself. It's about making your foundation stronger so you can handle whatever comes your way.
So building a strong base
Yeah.
and then pushing yourself to grow from there. The book gives an example of this. Something about an earthquake, right?
Yeah. They talk about the 2011 earthquake in Japan. It caused a lot of damage. But what's interesting is, while a lot of industries struggled, construction companies actually did really well.
So they had to adapt
Yeah,
and ended up stronger and more resilient.
exactly. It's a great example of how adversity can sometimes lead to growth and opportunity. And the book brings it back to Ikigai, saying that following your purpose with resilience and an anti-fragile mindset can lead to even deeper fulfillment, even when you face challenges.
Wow. So Ikigai isn't just about finding your purpose. It's about going after it with passion, perseverance, and a willingness to adapt. It's a journey, not a destination.
You got it. It's about embracing the journey with all its twists and turns and using challenges as chances to learn, grow, and become the best version of yourself.
This deep dive has been amazing.
It really has.
So much to think about. You mentioned haikus earlier. From the book, did those resonate with you?
They did. The book has these haikus by Mitsuo Ida. He's this Japanese calligrapher and poet. His words just perfectly capture the essence of Ikigai.
I'd love to hear some. Which ones were your favorites?
One that really stood out to me was, in the here and now, the only thing in my life is your life.
Wow. Powerful stuff. A reminder to be present and cherish the connections we have.
Right. There's another one that just says, here now.
So simple, yet so profound. It reminds me of Mono Nowhere, that feeling of gentle sadness about how fleeting things are.
Exactly. Aida's haikus also talk about following your heart. One of them says, happiness is always determined by your heart.
It's a nice reminder. Happiness comes from within. It's a choice we make, not something we find externally.
Absolutely. And then there's one that reminds us to stay true to ourselves. It says, keep going, don't change your path.
So inspiring. It feels like everything we've talked about. Flow, resilience, anti-fragility. Wabi-sabi, ichigo, ichie. And the wisdom of those Okinawan centenarians. They all point us towards this path of Ikigai.
They really do. And at the end of the book, the authors put all these principles together into what they call the 10 rules of Ikigai.
Well, let's hear them. These could be really helpful for our listeners as they start their own Ikigai journey.
Number 1, stay active, don't retire. Even when your career ends, keep doing things you love, things that give you purpose.
Okay, number 2.
Take it slow. Quality of life isn't about rushing, it's about enjoying each moment.
Number 3.
Don't fill your stomach. Remember hara hachibu. Practice moderation, especially with food.
Okay, what's next?
Surround yourself with good friends. Take care of those relationships, the ones that bring you joy and support.
Number 5.
Get in shape for your next birthday. Stay active. Find some exercise you enjoy.
Number 6.
Smile. It's simple, but powerful. For you and everyone around you.
What else?
Reconnect with nature. Get outside. Appreciate the beauty of the natural world.
That's a good one.
Number 8 is give thanks. Be grateful for all the good in your life.
It's number 9.
Live in the moment. Embrace the now. Don't dwell on the past or worry about the future.
And finally, number 10.
Follow your Ikigai. Discover your purpose and go after it with passion and perseverance.
Those 10 rules, like a guide to living well.
They are.
This deep dive has been so enlightening. I'm sure our listener has a lot to consider. As we wrap up, is there a question we can leave them with to help them on their Ikigai journey?
How about this? Now that you know about Ikigai, what's one small step you can take today to bring more purpose and joy into your life?
What a great question. Thanks for joining me on this exploration of Ikigai. And to our listener, may you find your reason to jump out of bed each morning with a heart full of purpose and joy. Until next time, happy exploring.
Did you get any of that?